session, Banking on Financial Health, we're going to talk about why making consumer financial health is good for both customers and for businesses. So as a nonprofit, measuring the financial health of our clients is just core to what we do, right? It's in our DNA. And as our name suggests, we are a savings-focused organization. But in addition to measuring gains and savings, we also use the financial health score methodology to give us a more holistic view into how our programs and services are helping our clients. So for Saver Life, just 2% of our clients are considered financially healthy when they join. But 2/3 improve their financial health scores within 6 months. So by using this broader framework of financial health, we can understand not just how do we increase people's savings, we can understand how even relatively small gains in savings has a multiplier effect on other financial outcomes, like reducing debt and having a more positive financial outlook. We're now seeing this powerful idea of considering overall financial health of your customers as an essential business metric to take hold in the private sector too. As leading companies, including major banks, credit unions, and fintechs, begin to use financial health as a barometer, not just for the success of their customers, but for the success of their business. Now, we were just chatting about this. I've been coming to Emerge, I think maybe since the first Emerge. It's been a really wonderful long time. And the reason I come is because I believe everybody here, we all share a vision. And that's a vision that we can have a financial system in which everybody in this country has the opportunity to thrive. And we believe that measuring and understanding the financial health of all consumers is paramount to that goal, and that all of us here are responsible for taking steps to make that happen. But it only happens if we're all in, right? It only happens if we're all working on this together and designing our products and services with that end goal of customer financial health as our North Star. And I think I've heard the phrase North Star many times in this conference over the last few days. But we're also only going to achieve this if we develop ways to measure our progress and to hold ourselves accountable. So in this session, we are going to hear from 3 leaders about why their companies have decided that improving customer financial health would become their North Star metric, and how they have taken steps to measure their impact in ways that are both good for customers and good for business. So please, I'm pleased to welcome today Ashley Ross, who is the Head of Client Experience for Bank of America, Doug Marshall, who is the Chief Digital and Product Officer for BECU, and Nasir Kadri, the Managing Partner of Zeal Capital Partners. So thank you all so much. Before we jump in, I will just say we're going to have 5 minutes at the end for questions. So if you have questions, note them down, and there'll be microphones coming around to answer those, for you to ask those. So Ashley, let's get going. I'll start with you. So for the vast majority of Americans, they don't have access to expensive paid financial advisors, right? In fact, their relationship with their bank or credit union is their primary financial relationship. And what the research shows us is that 80% of consumers think that their bank or credit union should be a major contributor to their financial health. But yet only 14% feel that this is actually what's happening. So this is a big gap in consumer expectations, but it's also a huge opportunity for banks. So I'd love to hear more about, from Bank of America's perspective, why is it important to focus on customer financial health? And how would you describe the bank's vision about what that looks like for your customers?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me today. It's a pleasure to be here and represent some of the work we're doing at Bank of America. You know, the first thing I'll say is that our company purpose is to make financial lives better. So it's part of our culture, to your point, as you said, it's part of our DNA. But at the same time, it's also good for business. So a lot of what we've been doing is really looking at that relationship and proving it out and showing that clients who are more financially secure are more satisfied with their relationship with their bank. And when they're more satisfied with their relationship with their bank, they tend to bring more products, they deepen their relationship with us, and that in turn, of course, drives revenue and profitability for the bank. We also see that the clients who are satisfied stay longer with us, and their retention scores are higher. So we do this because it's our company's purpose, and we do this because it's good for the customers. But we've also shown that it's also good for business, and it really is an integrated program around client experience and their financial health.
I think that makes a ton of sense, right? The more financial products and services that you can provide to your consumers, the better off the bank is and the better off the customer is, right? To deepen that relationship. So, Doug, for you, credit unions. Everybody loves credit unions, right? Champions of financial health, and also banks. Champions of financial health, right, in communities. BECU has been committed to improving the financial well-being of its members for decades. And I think we can all learn from your experiences. Can you tell us some of the key challenges that BECU faced when you've been implementing your financial health strategy, and what can we learn from you?
Yeah, thank you for the question. And some of my answer, interestingly, will parallel what you just heard from Ashley. And it starts with when we thought about this topic and how we've made some progress against this important thing, that is improving the financial well-being of our members. We thought about three things that have helped us. And the first was sort of make it matter, if you will. And obviously, just like financial health, you need to get to people's head and to their hearts. And so in our case, we revisited our purpose, sounds familiar, and landed on this simple notion. In fact, Jennifer from Financial Health Network joined our board meeting 7 years ago to do this work. And we landed on the notion that our core purpose is to improve the financial well-being of our members, and importantly, and the communities that we serve, because those go together. So there's the heart, if you will. On the head front, right, to make it matter, and we've talked a lot about measurement. You just did, Ashley. We started measuring financial health of our member, an individual member, and our membership, the aggregation of that, 7 years ago. We've done it both in terms of transaction data, survey data. In fact, I was just looking at the results from this most recent survey to see what's going on there. So that's the important part of it. The second part, very quickly, is we sort of built this coalition of the willing. And as you'd expect, that coalition included internal parts of the organization. I guess that's redundant, internal groups. Because it takes everybody, right? It takes branches, it takes finance, it takes vendor, it takes all those things that you have in an organization, bank or credit union, to make it happen. And so we did that. In fact, one of my colleagues here, Martin Valen, so talk to him if you want to know the real story about this notion of building an internal group. And then importantly, we expanded that to include outside partners, right? And that's, again, maybe self-evident, but we partnered early with MasterCard, not just on the card products, but to develop some additional products. We partnered with MX, our mobile and PFM provider out of Salt Lake to help this. So the notion of a coalition is important internally, but also externally. And then there's a third piece I'll just touch on because I know I'm going on, and that is simply this. And again, you've heard a lot about this agile way of working, right? That we need to, and we try hard to listen, learn, and then respond. Again, not a new idea. And maybe the exemplary thing I would mention there is maybe not as obvious. We heard in the midst of all this work on financial well-being, in the midst of the pandemic, from our blind and sight impaired members. And we heard literally from them that they cannot use our digital assets, some of which included things that will improve their financial well-being. And so when we heard that from them, it was something we thought we should do something about. So it took about a year, because we don't have scale, it took us about a year to get to those assets, improve them so that our blind and sight impaired members, now every one of them can use those digital assets and therefore improve their financial well-being. So a simple listen, don't like what you're doing, learn, how can we change it, and then respond, make those changes. So those three things have really helped us, I think, move the work forward. A whole long list of mistakes we've made, a whole long list of things that we would like to do differently, but that's a different question. So that's what we've learned so far.
Yeah. Well, you know, Doug, you touched on a couple of themes that we want to bring out in the panel today. You talked about impact and how you measure that. You talked about designing for your users, for your customers, and you also talked a little bit about tech. So Nasir, I'm gonna ask you to talk a little bit about tech. So, stating the obvious here, right? Financial technology is rapidly becoming the driving force in the financial systems today. I mean, you can buy crypto at the gas station. And we're all playing a role in how tech will shape our financial system. And that's why First Saver Life, is a nonprofit to get into fintech, which is, I can tell you, as a nonprofit, not easy to do. But our voice needs to be in that conversation too, right? That voice of what will the future look like. So given your investment mission, how do you evaluate companies and what they're trying to do, especially in this fast-changing environment? How do you evaluate their businesses against this metric of improving financial health for the communities that you care about?
Yeah, so it's such a great question, Lee. And first of all, I feel like I've been missing the party. This is my first emerge, and this is amazing. And so just really just thrilled to be here. First of all, +1 to you, Doug. I mean, what I also heard is that it's so important to have diverse stakeholders, right? Not just investors and entrepreneurs, but policymakers. I mean, everyone can play a role as we think about financial wellness and creating access to financial markets for all, not just the 1%. And that's really at core our North Star at Zeal Capital Partners. We are a Washington, D.C. base. We coin ourselves as an inclusive investment vehicle, laser focused on turbocharging economic mobility by way of investing in exceptional diverse management teams that are rethinking the building blocks of wealth, from education to employment pathways to financial wellness. And this is my first public talk that I can publicly share. We'll be expanding that lens to a third category, being health equity. If the crux of our investment firm is to turbocharge economic mobility by way of sourcing, investing, helping scale these projects, we can't discount the role that access to health care, affordable health care, plays to turbocharging. Plus, Doug, we also know there's a number of projects that correlate to fintech and health, future of work, future of learning, and healthcare. And so we're excited to partner with Truist Ventures, PayPal, Bank of America, one of our earlier investors, amongst a number of universities and private foundations. To your question, we do this through a market-backed investment strategy called inclusive investing. We all know in this room where capital has gone over the past 10 plus years, geo and gender, ethnicity. But we don't talk about what happens when you are proactive and building a diverse management team at the fund manager level, and the fact that you can organically over-index your allocation to more diverse entrepreneurs. And then earmark your traveling dollars, quite frankly, more than 20 miles outside of Sand Hill and Menlo Park, Manhattan, Cambridge, Boston, where most capital has gone. And so while we'll continue to invest in those tech ecosystems, we believe that if entrepreneurs are truly going to be the change agents of our country, then it has to include everyone. And we believe at its core that innovation across financial technology, whether it's rethinking credit access expansion, a company called Isusu that we were very, very early investors in. Samir sits on your board. We were chatting backstage. It's a great example of a company that is an early stage company. With our domain and operating experience, we can get comfortable just given our experience in that sector. Then we leverage our partners that can really push our thinking to see the potential opportunity. From an impact perspective, we depending on the business model, we track different impact metrics for each of the company, and like any financial services firm, we have a financial our financial what do you call it, yearly, not audit, but anyway, we have an annual impact report along with our financial metrics as well. And so we're holding ourselves accountable, where every founder signs a pledge to track these metrics. And of course, our investors it's an indicator that they're invested in a mission-driven fund as well. So yeah,
Well, can
I'll
you
pause there.
tell us a little bit about those metrics? Like, what are the types of things that you're looking at? Because, you want your investments to catalyze real change. I mean, I was looking at your website, and some of the things you're investing in are so expansive and creative around solving for economic inequality and taking a holistic view, right? Like, people's lives are complex. So how did you get to some of those metrics? Tell us a little bit more about that.
So every company under a fintech vertical, a common theme is that they have a direct interest in serving the underbanked consumer. That's really important to us, right? Again, going back to, financial services does not work for everyone, right? And so finding those projects that are directly focusing on the underbanked consumer is really important to us. So we track the end user experience and the population in terms of where they come from and their economic status, et cetera. So we track that. Isuzu is actually a great example as we think about a company that's poised to unbundle how we think about FICO scores, right? Surprisingly, we have not tracked rental payments. And so that is a clear metric to track. If you use the Isuzu platform and you are, your goal is to purchase your first home and your credit score is low, but once you use the Isuzu platform and your FICO score goes up 20, 30%, that's an excellent impact indicator metric that we will track. Of course, and so those are, that's one example, and be cognizant of time, but every business model has different impact metrics, just given all business models aren't the same.
That's incredible to hear about. And Ashley, I'm going to ask you a very similar question. I mean, the big picture question, how do you know this is working, right? Like, what are some of the business and customer impact metrics that you're focusing on at Bank of America?
Yeah, absolutely. A few of the metrics that we looked at, I talked about in my opener in terms of, how deep is our relationship with our clients, as well as how long are they staying with us. But we also, similar to what Doug mentioned, we have a program where we monitor our clients' financial health. And we very detailed analyze their feedback. I think you said listen, learn, respond. Similar concept where we have a very detailed program internally that we call Voices, where we receive 1 million surveys a month about the client's experience with us.
You said 1 million?
1 million.
1 million a month.
1 million a month. And so we analyze, we listen, we look at that down to the client level and what their financial health is, so that we can take that feedback and disseminate it across the organization to our product partners, our digital partners, other folks, to really drive those improvements based exactly what our clients are telling us. So that's really the program that we have to make sure we understand our clients' financial health, we understand the business metrics and how they're performing, and we understand very specifically what the clients are telling us they need, and take that action by driving it out throughout the organization.
And how do you use that information throughout the bank? Is that something you're able to share with other parts of the business, and how does that work?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. We have a kind of a formalized program around financial health, and we have 5 pillars that it's important that everyone in our bank knows what they are and how we're mobilizing around financial health, so we can gain momentum, we can gain focus. We're certified by J.D. Power for our program, and it's really cohesive. And it starts with making sure we have the products and solutions to simplify finances is the first one. So that's our kind of straightforward products and solutions. The second one is manage your money. And we have a lot of digital capabilities to help clients manage their money on a daily basis, like Life Plan or so forth. Leverage the experts. So that would be all the experts we have in our financial centers throughout the community, and even third-party partners like Operation Hope. Build knowledge. We really want our clients to really be smart about financial health as well, and have a great platform like Better Money Habits, which provides objective, detailed content on financial health. And then finally, give help when needed, whether that is, we have a client assistance program that is for natural disasters, or maybe even when people need credit counselors. But that's really how we mobilize around it, is we've formalized a program around financial health with those 5 pillars, and we really enlist partners across the organization to contribute and drive out that mission.
That's great. I'm going to have to write those down and take them back to my organization. That's a pretty good view. So, Doug, you touched on this a little bit, but I want us to talk a little bit more about how we design for consumers. So within our sector, and I say this coming from the nonprofit sector, all too often we're trying to change consumers to fit the system, right? Instead of trying to look at what do people really want and need in products and services. And we have a lot of people in this country who the financial system, they're not the primary user, right? It's not designed for them. It's not designed for their needs. So can you talk to us a little bit about how we can better understand what's happening in the lives of people who are using our products and services, and why you think it's smart business to design for the user?
Yeah, thanks for the question. And I'm going to answer this, I think, with a room, if not full of, at least having several people in the room who know deeply what it is to understand humans. But the way we approach this, not dissimilar. I'd love, by the way, to get 1 million data points a month. That would be tremendous. But, and actually, that's probably relevant to this. We look at it both ways. We look at hard quantitative data. How are consumers' behaviors, members in our case, changing? Overdrafts are going down or up. What might that indicate? A very obvious example. And then we consume that at our own scale and consider that, and that has implications for product design. And then more, I think in some cases more robustly, qualitative data, we have a relatively sophisticated user, member, human experience practice in the organization. And we probably 4 to 5 times a week are engaging with members in either very, very small groups or anthropologically, if you will, going out to where they are. And then again, consuming all that against specific questions, by the way. So it's not just show up, hang out in their house, see how hard life is for them or not, but it's go out and understand a particular use case or a particular challenge. So those two things kind of converge, the quantitative, the qualitative, and help us do things. An example, just because you're going to ask that, I bet, would be very quickly, and again, not a new product. I think B of A, Bank of America had this years ago, but we have deployed an envelopes product, right, a savings product, when most of us know what that is. But we did 3 things differently, I won't go into those now, based on that kind of convergence of quantitative and qualitative, and rapidly iterated on that as well. So I think the short answer is both kinds of information consumed, synthesized, and then put it against a specific question. But it's a really, really fun part of the problem, I think, to help solve, because it requires humans and it requires empathy, is the thing I would add.
Absolutely. Nazir, I'd love your perspective on the same question. How can we do a better job designing for end users and for their needs?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of pivoting at the earliest stages, right? And I do think, at least in our shoes, having that support system for the founders, right? Because it's understanding, we call this customer discovery, right? You really get a sense of what is the consumer discovery. What are the needs for that consumer, and by way of constantly repetition, like understanding like what sticks. And so we actually have a head of product, and that really leans into every portfolio company along with our investment team, and then couple that with our partners that help shape the product. So it's a clear end user experience.
And Ashley, I'll ask you the same question. How is Bank of America going about investing in the development of these financial health focused products?
Yeah, absolutely. To your point about the development of the products and the positioning, I think it's partly the products and solutions that we develop, and it's also partly how we talk about them, right? So a lot of what we're doing is really trying to look to personalize that experience and to make sure that the component of the solution is really relevant to the client's needs. So that's really, I think the kind of the North Star, if you will, is so that when we're showing our solutions, it's not we're talking about this bank product. We're talking about something that will meet a need in your specific life and really connecting the dots for how it will make their financial lives better. And that may look different from a client who is, struggling day to day to a client who is financially secure. And so we need to make sure that the features and the components that are most relevant to them are what we're talking to them about. So we do both for sure. We have product partners who take those million data points and analyze them and understand what kind of features we need to build. But I think it's also about how we talk to the clients about our solutions and how they help them with their financial lives.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. No, I agree, and that makes so much sense, because for our clients, if we're asking them, which we also do all of the time, what are your biggest challenges, financial challenges? No one actually says, what I really need is a better designed bank account. Right? Like, sorry. But people say my income is down this month, or, my bills are too high, my utility bill's gone way up. And the more that we can really understand what's happening in people's lives and be able to be more flexible, and there's no reason, we were just talking about tech and access to data backstage, so I'm going to go pause there for a second, why we can't be designing more responsive products for people, because we know so much about them, right? So, we're at this moment now where emerging tech is providing great opportunity, but potentially also great risk to consumers. So I'll just throw it out to the panel about, how you think technologies are going to revolutionize. I mean, big question, right? You can pick anything. Customer experiences in financial services going forward, and how that's going to impact business. Any takers?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and start. One of the things that I think about is, things like artificial intelligence and personalization. We see that with our virtual assistant, Erica, who can really personalize interactions with clients right there on their mobile phone. And it's not like we're sending things to customers like them. We're sending them information about their specific needs. And so I think the use of data to personalize is a big one. And the same kind of concept would be, we have a solution that we call Life Plan, and it's a great tag on to your point about customers don't want a great bank account. They have financial goals and dreams and a plan for their life, right? So, it's a tool where clients can enter in and say what their goals are, and they can track that and see how they're progressing, and they can also go into a financial center and talk to an expert about it to help them meet their goals. So I think for me, it's about leveraging data and artificial intelligence to give the clients what they want at the time that it's convenient for them. But it's about putting everything that you have together in digital and in person and everything to really help them accomplish their life plan and their life goals, not just their transactions.
And that's really important to think about, what do relationships look like, in a digital era? And you mentioned that you can engage digitally, but you can also engage in person, right? And that concept of expanding relationships and relationship banking in different ways now for people who may not have access to banks or people who may not have access to tech, right? Like there's a lot more we can do. But Doug, did you want to jump in on that the question?
I'm looking like I'll just...
I have a little to share.
Yeah, no, I think agree completely on how important that is. And two thoughts. One, we have this sort of working notion, I wouldn't call it a North Star yet, it hasn't met that test, but of digital first, human always. We think that digital can really bring a lot of those things you talked about. And the other, I think, relevant part of this, to your question, Lee, is I'm hopeful that one of the things technology will do is, and again, we don't have scale, is enable us to deliver, we call it embedded financial health. So show up where the consumer, the member is, in their life. They don't think of a financial life, I don't think, and a life, they just think of life. And so we want to show up where they are. Again, it's very similar, personalized. And for us to do that at scale is going to require technology. And there's a whole long list of things specifically for that. But our hope is that one of the outcomes of all this stuff going on, fintech or otherwise, will enable us and others to be able to meet that need, because we think it's a real one. So, yeah. Thank you.
No, I think, +1 on the machine learning and the AI, I definitely think that will continue to play a major role as we think about financial wellness. Financial literacy and really getting to Gen Z is critically important as we think about wealth creation and how Gen Z thinks about their financial behavior, right? And so we're seeing a lot of tech-enabled projects that reach all the way to the Gen Z from high school to college and how they think about investing. Obviously, data is very clear that students care about mission-driven investing, for example, and then of course how they think about savings as well. So, the areas of savings and wealth creation is what we're coining it internally is a subcategory that we're really excited about. I think area of infrastructure for new and small businesses, like most new and small businesses are, whether it's 401k, that's incredibly expensive. And so affordable platforms and resources for new and small businesses is another area that we're really interested in as well.
So we're about a minute away from you guys getting to ask our panelists some questions, but I'll, Sarah, then Ashley, then Doug, I'll just go quickly. Last few years, tumultuous. what do you see, what have we learned, and what do you see as the biggest opportunities going forward to create a more inclusive financial system? I'll start with you.
Embedding resources for mental health is really important, and it kind of goes back to why we're including health equity and how that intertwines with financial wellness. Because if you're coming to work every day, Ashley, and you're not, just there, I mean, and we still have a long way to go in making sure we have the best systems of support to support our employers. And so I do think there's a huge opportunity to continue to support from a mental health perspective.
Yeah, I guess I would say personalization, only because I think that's when the message around financial education and literacy is best heard. So there's a lot of great information out there, but in order for the clients or the customers to benefit from it, it has to be given to them at the time that they're interested and resonate specifically with them. So I think that's a really good opportunity to move the dial on financial health.
We agree.
I'm not sure if this is a +2 or a 1+1, but I think that somehow understanding more clearly, and maybe some of you in the room do, the connection between objective financial health and qualitative, subjective financial well-being. It feels like you can have people objectively healthy, quote unquote, measured, and yet they still feel differently about that. So I'd love to be able to understand that and understand what we can do to affect both, which is that mental health component I think you were alluding to.
Absolutely.
Well, that's right, and you said it really well, right? People don't talk about their financial lives. Somebody said they talk about their lives, right? Like their whole lives. Now, I promise questions. I can't see anybody or anything. I see there's one in the front, and there's one a question over here. If someone has a microphone.
There's one right in front here.
It's on the. Yeah, I see you. Go for it. Oh, the microphone is coming.
Microphone's coming.
So you talk about personalization, you talk about embedded financial wellness. Obviously, to do that, you need to have like really good data, really good technology infrastructure to be able to take different things and sort of embed them in the places where they're most relevant. How have you found the infrastructure that you've had for probably 10 plus years sort of in some ways enabling you to do these really cool things, and other ways sort of slowing you down to do the really cool things that you want? How do you tackle that internally?
So the question is, how is tech enabling us to move towards some of these new features and goals? Okay.
Yeah.
Go for it.
I'll just jump on that because our answer is it's a giant impediment, if I heard the question correctly, not unique. And one of the catalysts for another, standard phrase right now, our digital transformation is exactly that. We determined that we won't be able to stay relevant, we won't be able to deliver embedded financial health at scale unless we do a massive sort of top to bottom, I wish our CTO were here to hear this, digital transformation. And we're now on that multi-year journey so that we can do that. Is that responsive to your question? Yeah. Others may have a different.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say that, Bank of America has deliberately invested in this area for a while now and will continue to do. I've heard, we're a bank, but I've also heard internally people say we're a technology company. Absolutely. I mean, that's absolutely critical for us to develop those personalized experiences, but we also always want to balance that with the high-touch availability of the specialist to really see it through. So I think that focus of cross-channel or cross-integration is not just digital data, it's sort of connecting it with the humans who serve the customers as well is equally as critical.
Absolutely. Nothing to add. I want to be cognizant of time.
Okay.
Questions.
We have a question in the front. Yeah.
Hi, Jamie Swider, Truist. Thank you. All did a really terrific job. Ashley, my question is for you. So I really like the 5 pillars of financial health and the monitoring of the scores. And some interesting for individuals that you have significant growth in their financial health score. We know it's all really important, but are there a couple of elements of what you offer that consistently rise to the top for those that see the most growth in their personal score?
Would you be able to phrase the question? I heard most of it, but not all of it.
Yeah, so if I'm your clients that you're seeing increases in their financial health score, are there a couple of nuggets that continue to rise to the top of programs internally that you offer that they're taking advantage of?
I see. So what are some of the things? A lot of what we've done recently is just what we've been on. We say internally we've been on a 10-year journey, right? So we've done a lot of things over the course of that time, which has impacted the financial health. Some of the most recent things that we've done really are, transforming our overdraft fees and things. So, the insufficient funds fee, and reducing the fees. And, it's interesting, there's been questions about, there are clients who still want to, have that cushion, have that ability, and so forth. So we've seen a lot of, I would say, improvement in that retail client base due to that fee restructuring. But also, better money habits was something that I mentioned in terms of knowledge. Like, people who use the better money habits benefit from it. And it's a great platform of content. So we try to put that in front of our clients to help educate them whenever they can. So not just digitally online where they can access it, but also experts in the branches who are certified in that content to help share it, as well as bring third parties. So it's a little bit of, we do a lot of different things, and all of them together move the dial. And so I think it's looking at making sure we have the right products and solutions, but also making sure we're giving them the education through better money habits and other tools.
And you ended right on time, Ashley. That was incredible. You should be on the television news anchor or something. But I will just take a moment to thank our panelists for an engaging discussion, but to thank all of you as well for being a part of this community and for the work that you do every day to move us close to the financial system that this country needs and deserves. So thank you all very much.